Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here. It is February 25th and Zur is here in the EDZ in Winding Cove up on the cliff. His weapon of the week is an OG. It is the Sunshot hand cannon, but as all exotics that use primary ammo now get 40% more damage, and also the explosions. If you don't have Sunshot, this is a must own weapon. Things are going to explode and you're going to do a ton more damage. So if you don't have Sunshot, make sure you buy it. It actually is going to be a ton of fun and pretty potent now with the new update. Now, I'm hoping this is a change from previous weeks, but Zur is selling exotics for collection purposes, not for high-level stat rolls right now, and I hope Bungie reverts this one. I know Zur can have random items and rolls, but typically he doesn't have, like, garbage stats on all the armor, because literally every piece of armor is useless. It's like a collection stat roll. So if you don't have any of these exotics, if you don't have Lucky Pants, hand cannons ready faster and gain increased accuracy and bonus damage. So if you like hand cannons, a hunter must get. Fang Pauldrons, this is good for void melee kills, give super energy. It improves the sentinel shield. If you don't have those, you definitely need a pair. And then the Skull of Dire Ahamkara. Nova Bomb kills, grant super energy. It's basically up to 50% return if you can kill enough enemies. But if you kill enemies with Nova Bomb, you get some of that Nova Bomb energy for your super right back after it's done. So those are all good exotics to own, but the stats on them are like pulling them out of collections. So the only reason to look at these is if you don't own them previously. As for the armor, I'll check the other classes and I'll let you know if there's any reason to look at them. But otherwise, it literally looks like, hey, do you want the Prefectus set for Transmog? Then you can buy it here to at least unlock that progress. But all of these are just garbage stat rolls. So now let's look at the weapons. Sadly, most of the weapons are not exactly great either. Gnawing Hunger, I've got a much better roll. Auto-loading holster on a hand cannon. You've got full auto, which is part of like an intrinsic thing that you'll be able to get later on down the road. Now, I will say, Deafening Whisper is a wave frame void grenade launcher, and there is no way to really access this thing right now. Basically, you would be lucky to see it in maybe a world drop. So if you don't have a Deafening Whisper, this is actually a pretty good roll. You've both got Killing Wind, which is not a bad perk just in general. Final blows grant increased mobility, weapon range, and handling, so just a little bit more mobility. That wave frame with rapid kills works perfectly for Unrelenting, so if you got a lot of stuff charging at you like a ton of Thrall, you can get that health back. So if you do not own a Deafening Whisper, make sure you pick one up, chunk that in your vault to make sure you've got a decent option. Auto-loading, opening shot's not bad on a slug, but still not really digging the auto-loading. Temptation's Hook, though. If you don't have a great arc sword, and this is a caster frame, Vorpal and Tireless is actually a pretty good option, because Tireless is going to work with that caster frame. You're going to have sword ammo granted after every other powered sword kill, and that powered sword kill is going to be the projectile. And Vorpal on a sword still going to be that 10% against champions, bosses, vehicles, and other guardians. Also have Swordsman's Guard and Jagged Edge, so you can get that nice damage bonus if you want it. Final one here is Frozen Orbit, Clown Cartridge, Snapshot Sights. Probably fine, but nothing I think to write home about. Lastly, we do have our exotic weapons. They are on the second page. Now your Hawkmoon, you've got Eye of the Storm as your perk. You've got a couple other options here, but I think Eye of the Storm is the one you are going to make or break if you're going to buy this one. Heavy grip for stability, but a little less handling. Faster reloads when the mag is empty is pretty standard. Extended barrel for range, a little less handling, decent recoil control. That one, I don't know if you should be too excited about. Eye of the Storm, that's really kind of a personal perk, but this, Dead Man's Tale. I told you guys, if you were going to be looking at Zur selling something, you're going to want a Dead Man's Tale with Vorpal if you've ever wanted this weapon. Primaries now do 40% extra. Vorpal is 20% extra. So you put that math together, you got like 60% if you're hitting champions. And with scouts, now with anti-barrier, which we're getting into the higher rank stuff, this is the one. If you don't have a Vorpal Dead Man's Tale, buy this one. If you don't have an exotic cipher, remember, I've still got the quest sitting on my character. You can work on picking up the Xenealogy and then doing Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit to pick up an exotic cipher. But you are also going to need an Ascended Shard. So if you've got one of those, good luck. You might see if you can pull one from a previous season pass if you unlocked it. Check everywhere. If you don't, 125,000 Glimmer and 200 Legendary Shards. This is the one right here. If you don't have a Vorpal Dead Man's Tale, this is the one everybody seems to want. So if you are capable of buying it, I highly, highly recommend buying this weapon. And that pretty much wraps it up for Zur. Not a bad hand cannon if you don't own it. You can buy an exotic Engram, see if you get something that you might not have previously had. It's not going to have new stuff in there. A grenade launcher you should probably own if you don't own one of these. Not a bad roll to go with it. Not a bad sword. But the Dead Man's Tale, that's the one everybody wants, is Vorpal. So if you don't have it, make sure and add that one in. Sadly for the armor, it's only for collections or transmog purposes. I hope they shift that back to the way it was, because that made it more exciting. You might actually get some reasonable stat rolls every so often. But that wraps it up for Xur. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you got thoughts about anything I may have, mismentioned here. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's Ebontis, twitch.tv. It is Ebontis for streaming, which I've been doing a lot lately, so come hang out over there. But right here on YouTube, if you aren't subbed yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. And for my channel members and Patreons, thank you so much for your extra support. It is greatly appreciated. But to all of you, have a good one. You're amazing.